Over 100 U.S. combat aircraft repositioned, two carrier THAAD missile systems rushing toward the region overnight. Pentagon sources say a coordinated military buildup is underway. Tonight, we reveal what triggered it.
They didn't send a warning. They sent tanks. Dozens of M1 Abrams main battle tanks, some of the heaviest and most lethal ground combat systems in the American arsenal, have reportedly been airlifted directly into the Middle East. Alongside them are M2A3 Bradley fighting vehicles. Armored, armed, ready. This isn't a training exercise. This isn't routine. This is a mobilization. According to multiple defense sources and military imagery, the United States is now conducting one of the largest military buildups near Iran since the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Two aircraft carrier strike groups are moving toward the Arabian Sea. More than 100 combat aircraft have been repositioned across the region. Missile defense batteries are being installed around the clock. And the question the entire world is now asking, from Washington to Tel Aviv to Beijing to Tehran, is simple. What exactly is the United States preparing for? To understand what's happening, we need to look at the events leading up to this moment. For years, tensions between Washington and Tehran have been like a slow-burning fuse. Sanctions, proxy conflicts, cyber operations, and nuclear negotiations have pushed the two nations dangerously close to confrontation again and again. But in early 2026, that tension escalated rapidly. Reports indicate that President Donald Trump issued Iran an ultimatum roughly 10 to 15 days to reach a new agreement addressing Iran's nuclear program and its expanding ballistic missile capabilities. According to several international news outlets, the administration warned that failure to reach a deal would bring serious consequences. Iran did not immediately agree, and the U.S. military didn't wait. Within days, the Pentagon began positioning forces across the Middle East at a pace that surprised even seasoned defense analysts. The movement wasn't hidden. In fact, flight tracking data, satellite imagery, and open-source intelligence painted a clear picture of a massive force moving into position. More than 100 combat aircraft reportedly began relocating across the region. These included F-35 stealth fighters, F-22 air superiority jets, F-15E Strike Eagles capable of carrying bunker-busting bombs designed to penetrate hardened underground facilities, and F-16 fighter aircraft used for versatile combat missions. Supporting them were E-3 Sentry airborne warning and control aircraft, essentially flying command centers capable of monitoring airspace across hundreds of miles and coordinating entire air battles in real time. Aerial refueling tankers were deployed as well, allowing fighters to remain airborne for extended missions. And heavy transport aircraft began flying continuous sorties to move equipment and personnel into the region. But it wasn't just aircraft that caught attention. It was what was inside those cargo planes. According to defense reporting and confirmed military imagery, soldiers from the 3rd Squadron of the 278th Armored Cavalry Regiment, also known as Task Force Reaper, were photographed unloading an M1 Abrams tank directly from the rear ramp of a C-17 Globemaster III transport aircraft within the U.S. Central Command region. There was no dramatic announcement, no press conference. The tanks simply appeared. At sea, the buildup was equally significant. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group had already been operating in the region, but reports soon indicated it would not remain alone. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the most technologically advanced aircraft carrier ever built, was reportedly being redeployed toward the Arabian Sea as well. That means two massive carrier strike groups operating in the same theater. Each aircraft carrier weighs more than 100,000 tons and carries dozens of combat aircraft. Each is escorted by guided missile destroyers equipped with advanced radar systems and Tomahawk cruise missiles capable of striking targets hundreds of miles inland. Together, they represent an enormous concentration of American military power. On land, additional defensive systems were also deployed. U.S. Central Command confirmed the movement of Patriot missile defense batteries into key locations across the region. Sources also indicated that THAAD systems, short for Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, were deployed as well. These systems are designed to intercept ballistic missiles during their final descent toward targets. That matters because Iran possesses one of the largest ballistic missile arsenals in the Middle East. The combination of Abrams tanks, Bradley vehicles, stealth fighters, carrier strike groups, and missile defense systems tells a very clear story. The United States is building a force capable of defending itself and striking if necessary. But moving forces into a region is only the beginning. Maintaining them requires a massive logistics network. An M1 Abrams tank consumes enormous amounts of fuel. Under operational conditions, it can burn several gallons of fuel for every mile traveled. It also requires constant maintenance, engine inspections, track adjustments, and weapons system checks. Aircraft require even more support. Each fighter jet depends on a supply chain that includes spare parts, technicians, fuel, weapons, and communication systems. Without that support, even the most advanced aircraft cannot operate for long. Behind the scenes, supply operations have reportedly been running around the clock. Transport aircraft continue to deliver equipment and personnel into the region. Aerial refueling tankers extend the range of combat aircraft. Supply ships at sea provide carrier strike groups with fuel, ammunition, and provisions without requiring them to return to port. This logistical effort involves thousands of personnel and enormous quantities of equipment. And that level of preparation suggests something important. This deployment was not designed to last only a few days. It was designed to be sustained. So what does all of this mean? Right now, analysts see three possible scenarios. The first scenario is deterrence. In this interpretation, the United States is deliberately displaying overwhelming military power to pressure Iran into negotiations. By positioning such a large force in the region, Washington may be attempting to convince Tehran that refusing diplomatic talks would carry unacceptable risks. Sometimes the goal of military deployment is not war, it is to prevent war. If Iran interprets the buildup as a credible threat, it may choose to negotiate rather than escalate. The second scenario is a prolonged standoff. In this outcome, neither side backs down. The United States maintains its forces in the region, while Iran refuses to make major concessions. The result would be a tense but controlled confrontation that could last months. During that time, economic sanctions could tighten. Iran might respond with missile tests or nuclear program advancements designed to demonstrate resilience without triggering a direct military response. Global markets, particularly oil markets, would likely react with volatility. After all, the Strait of Hormuz sits at the center of this region. Nearly 20% of the world's oil supply passes through that narrow waterway. Any disruption there could have global economic consequences. The third scenario is the most dangerous: escalation. Throughout the Middle East, several armed groups maintain relationships with Iran. In previous periods of tension, these groups have launched rocket attacks, drone strikes, and other asymmetric operations against U.S. positions in the region. Even a single incident, a damaged ship, a downed aircraft, or a missile strike against a military base, could trigger a rapid chain reaction. History shows how quickly these situations can spiral. The last time the United States assembled a comparable concentration of military power in the region was in 2003. That buildup ultimately led to the Iraq War. This situation is not identical, but the scale of the current deployment has reminded many analysts of that moment. Today, Patriot and THAAD systems stand ready to intercept missiles. Carrier strike groups patrol nearby waters. Combat aircraft remain on alert. And Abrams tanks now sit on desert soil thousands of miles from home. Whether this deployment ultimately leads to diplomacy, prolonged tension, or open conflict is still uncertain. But one fact is undeniable: you do not move this much military power without a reason. Right now, the forces are in place, the logistics network is active, and the world is watching closely. What happens next could shape the future of the Middle East, and possibly the global balance of power. Now I want to hear your perspective. Do you think this massive U.S. military buildup is simply a strategy to pressure Iran into negotiations? Or do you believe it signals the possibility of something much more serious? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want clear explanations of major global military developments as they unfold, make sure to subscribe and stay informed, because the situation is evolving fast, and this story is far from over.